Hello, beloved humans. Today's transmission is about motherhood, somatic wisdom, and the lost cultures of initiation. We all have a mother, and there are mothers all over the place in every culture, in every religion, in every place that humans live. There are mothers. So this is a very central topic that we are all touched by in some form, of course, because it's the base of life. So I want to invite you mothers who are watching this, or humans who are watching this who have a mother, to really remember really the essence of what this reality of motherhood actually is, because it is an initiation, and probably one of the most profound initiations there is as a human. And our cultures have completely forgotten that in the collective consciousness. We have put it in many ways just as something like, yeah, this is normal, this is part of life, and it's not paid, it has not, almost no mother receives the support that she needs. She needs to go back in functioning very fast, or for work, or in relationships, or in families, or in societies. So it's really, it's almost as if we have a collective forgotten what it truly is. And so I want to talk about that, and also why it is so important that we remember the gravity of motherhood. I'm a mother of a 2-year-old daughter almost, and next week it's her birthday. And I can say that motherhood has been the most intense, the most heartbreaking, the most magical, the most easy, the most beautiful, the most challenging experience that I've had in my entire life. I'm 44, so I've had different phases in my life. I became a mother quite late, and maybe that is why I feel such a deep necessity to talk much more about it, because I was in many ways already quite conscious, and so everything that I've experienced through motherhood was very consciously. And in many ways, I have to say, it is shocking how little our cultures, our societies, our also family and friends and even my husband really could respond in the way and hear me, what I needed, what I wanted, in the depth of what was happening. And I know there's a lot of also other topics, also around fatherhood, and there are many things that also belong to this topic, but I really specifically want to focus on the mother in this first series of YouTube videos. And I could really understand and experience the depth of initiation for me as a woman, as a human, as a soul, and yet how alone I was still in many ways. And I know I was in so many ways so privileged, and I received a lot of support and a lot of, really, I could birth naturally at home, and there are a lot of beautiful things, and I really trusted my instincts, my inspiration, and my intuition. So I felt like there was a good amount of really deep blessings and deeply aligned with life. Yet nevertheless, I could feel like, wow, actually there is so much more. There's so much more necessity to bring, to this process, and really understanding so much more about my own biography, because I've been given away from my mother to a foster family when I was quite small still. And so the whole reflection of, why she did that, but then also so many mothers that I know who are stressed, or stories of humans who have experienced a lot of pain through the overwhelm or the shadows of their mothers, and really understanding that most mothers are overwhelmed. Like also I am. Many moments I have just been completely overwhelmed, and this is really due to we don't have the structures and the validation and the practices and the cultures to really hold the mothers how they need to be held, so that they can hold the children, which is the base of every human life. And so to in a way, it's like really to take away that massive rite of passage on a collective scale, in its sacredness and in its immensity, in its gravity, through the conception, pregnancy, birth, postpartum phase, but then years later, and like really with every step of the child, there is a mother who is so deeply designed to care for that child and needs to be held equally also by her environment, and not only human environment, but also like more than human environments of like really nutritions, soil, air, and like all other life forms. And so this is one part that I've really experienced when I became a mother. It's like there is like this, like where we learn in our societies to create buffers, to not sense and feel everything. When you become mother, there's such a deep opening, and with that opening, it's almost as if all the filters just were taken away, and I could feel like so much and so deep and so intense and so sensitive. And yeah, like really, like understanding how much is broken and disconnected and fragmented in the world, and to be there with a small human, and just, it's almost as if no one could really respond to that sensitivity, because collectively there is so much numbness, there's so much disconnection, there's so much fragmentation. And we as mothers, we really hold that, bringing back everything together, so that life can, that we can serve life, and that life can really bloom and strive and unfold. And to really have there not enough mirrors and enough like capacity from outside that really can respond to that sensitivity. That was one of the things that I realized, like, wow, okay, there is like really, there is this lack of remembrance and consciousness and knowing and practices, like really how to really do this. So it is truly a rite of passage, to become in the most incarnated form a channel for soul, for life. And I'm interested to see, how can we as women really stand up for that when we become mothers, to really stand up for like, hey, this is what I need, this is what I feel, this is my intuition, this is my instinct, this is my inspiration, and to trust that and to claim it, to communicate it, but also that in general, we humans are much more educated what it truly means to become a mother. And then of course, like, political structures and social structures that are really supporting that. Like I was really feeling, like what kind of infrastructure would we need that these processes, because it's really many processes and on an ongoing journey, that they are held from the tribe, from the community, from societies. And what it really is that it goes together, like to remember the importance of this initiation is to remember the sacredness of the body, and how the body is like so intelligent and so sensitive at the same time. And the way how women are held and being left alone also in many ways, like really trusted, because it really is this primal reconnection with the wisdom of the body. Then birth can happen in its sacred, natural, powerful reality. And so many women don't experience that. So many mothers don't experience that right now. And there's so much fear also around birth. There's so much fear about the responsibility of motherhood. There's so many projections also what motherhood is. and what it should be, and like this, when I became a mother, I realized like how little I actually heard mothers talk about the challenges and the realness of it, and so much because there's such a resilience in mothers, this, okay, I'm just gonna pick it up, like even when I'm still bleeding, and even when my body is changing in so like most transformed ways, like the whole hormones, like everything, like literally your bones, they get moved, and yeah, like everything is transformed, is touched, and that from within, for giving space for another human. So it really is this big opening, and that this opening is being held and being cared for and being responded to, I didn't experience. And I know no one actually who experienced that. So it's like a very sad mirror of where we are collectively. And also again, like that we are not paid for, for this most sacred work. Like in what kind of a world do we live where the most sacred work that influences the rest of every human being, the entire lives, why is that not valued in that sense, also in a very practical, pragmatic way, like in its depth, in its fullness? Because the moment the mother starts to outsource, and she gets a cleaning lady, she gets a cook, she gets whatever, and she starts to pay, it's there are calculations that is like an immense sum, like something about 80,000 Swiss francs a month, if she outsources all those things. But that is not what a mother receives, So what kind of economy have we created where the foundation of life is not valued? Like what kind of logic is that? What kind of disconnection from life is that? And so it really is about reconnecting to the integral wisdom of the body, of the somatics, how the body really works and how important that is. Like it really, and again, this is a continuum, like really to understand that the baby's foundation of immunity is connected with the mother. And so the health of the mother is so deeply important for the child, but also the environment, like what kind of microbes, what kind of, but also it goes to light, to sound, to air, like all these things are so deeply impacting the child and the mother. And like, how did we lose that? And so before I go deeper into this transmission, I want to invite you to come back to your body. And in a way, I just want to bring a little prayer to your mother who has birthed you, and your mother's mothers, and your mother's mother's mother, and really these lineages of wombs that have been holding and birthing life in such a deep way. So if you're a woman, put your hands on your womb and say thank you for this power of life. And if you're a man, put also your hands on your belly and remember that you came, your whole body was created in a womb, in this deep mystical process where you come from the mystical realms of soul and of the cosmos into this physical form. And that every mother holds that process in her belly and in her heart and in her entire being to serve this human experience. And if you, my mama, Anna Maria, if you hear that, if you see this, video, I just want to give you an extra kiss and say thank you for bringing me into this world. I can feel now so much deeper what path you walked with all the challenges of your times, of your generation, of your situation, and have so much more compassion and so much more understanding and so much more gratitude as well. Yeah, because truly motherhood is a mystery school. It is an alive mystery school. And if we can really put it back into life's structure and see mothers like really as walking disciples of deep mystical processes, we would have so much more respect and so much more gratitude and so much more wonder also. And so much more, like care for that really everything that is in this 3D material world is truly sacred and carries such a deep wisdom and such a deep gnosis of how life wants to be lived and how to take care of life. Because truly every mother is a teacher of reality, on how we can hold life, how we can feel life, how we can serve life, and that we are shaped by life. Because that is another thing, if we go to the body, because there's so much suffering, especially in women, but in general, around our bodies, the most sacred vessels that we have, that I have the wrong shape, it doesn't function, it's sick, it doesn't have the right color, and all these many stories that are put on our bodies. But truly there are just such a sacred ground for this human experience here on earth. And as a mother, I really truly feel that it's not about having the perfect maiden body after I became a mother. It's like truly I honor every trace that I feel my body has gone through giving birth, as a movement, as the sacredness of movement of life that is written, because that is truly what happens. In becoming a mother, I become a conscious library for life, for my child. And so everything is written in the body from within, like really on the, like really through everything. And there is like scientific wisdom around that every child actually transforms also the mother in some form. There's like really this very mystical alchemy between the mother and the child on a very physical level. And this nurturing and this deeply physiological giving and receiving that's happening on so many forms, so many ways. If we understand, if we can feel, if we can, like really, remember, this is all of our origin, all of us. This is our origin, to be here on this planet, to be here in this body, and the sacredness and the beauty of it, like not in its perfection, not in its, like, oh, this is how it has to look, but really as a living relationship. And that the sacredness of life is shaped in our bodies. How would that impact our relationship with Earth if we could really feel the sacredness, and in that sense then also mirror, and see, this is our body and how interconnected it is with Earth and with nature. How would we relate with nature, with forests, with oceans, with gardens, with water, with animals? if we remember these cultures of care and peace, of love, of truth, of intimacy. I deeply know and feel that we cannot then, look away from the beauty of compost piles, of weather changing in its, natural forms, of the miracles that are all around us all the time, and really, the movements and the aliveness of it. And I also deeply feel we would live so differently in so much more connection, also with all the different movements of life. And in many ways, what I feel, what is important, in the processes of rematriation, where we bring back the mothers at the center of life, where we bring back with us life at the center of everything, we cannot differently than really start cultivating cultures of repair. Also really understanding, like, okay, what do I harm in this moment? What have we harmed in history over generations? And like, I'm coming from Europe, and to really see, like, okay, where do I need to repair things? There's a lot that needs to be repaired. And with that repairing, again, there comes a lot of grief processes. And grieving is, in many ways, it's the emotional composting. A lot of humans are very afraid of feeling really life in its intensity. And I really see the connection of the overwhelm of mothers who also, to keep on existing and surviving, in our societies, they also need to push through. And how deeply that harms actually the children, and then, like, really on a continuum, humans for their lifetimes, that they're afraid to really feel the deep intensity and intimacy of life. I really feel that if you put mothers and women, also, give so much more voice in societies, in communities, in relationship, in friendships, and really truly listen to their voices and to their realities, there would be such a natural shift into connection, more back into connection. So there would be a natural collective movement of repair. And in many ways, this is why I opened this YouTube channel, because I feel this is really needed. And actually, that was coming out of a question I was asked a few years ago by a friend who said, if you would be in a position of leadership that has a lot of influence on what's happening in the world, what would be the first 5 things that you would do? And I was deeply feeling into it and thinking about it. And the first thing was, like, really, give a different position to mothers and women and elders and indigenous and children, but really mothers, because they always care about all the other life forms, like, really to give them a space where they actually can speak and say what needs to happen in the community, because of their sensitivity, because of their somatic presence and, opening to life. That's why they should have much more responsibility and agency and freedom to decide, how life needs to be responded to. And to break it very concretely down into everyday life. So if you are a mother, take it as a practice today to speak what you need into your environment. Be very clear, feel like, okay, this is truly what I need. Take back that power that you naturally carry, in a sense of root down into it. And if you're someone who knows mothers who are right now, especially in the early years, but also later, that you know mothers, ask them about how they're doing, like truly. Ask them about their birth story. Ask them about the initiation they went through motherhood, and listen. Listen what they have to tell. Maybe also hold space for, maybe there will be some grief that will come to the surface. And celebrate them, surprise them with a little something. Sometimes it's just really just this small acknowledgement of like, hey, here I give you a candle because I see how much you are holding and serving. Or even, if you are someone who has a lot of money, why not open some kind of a fund for mothers, like in the global south, who are in so many ways the ones who are the most extracted from. Or, just to really give it back, actually, the wealth where it truly is. And give it back into the hands of mothers and women. And this leads me to a topic that I'm gonna speak deeper tomorrow. And this is really about the relationship between mothers and soil and earth, and how I really feel like there is this parallel, like how earth has been treated, mothers and women have been treated collectively. And that a deep restoring of the right relationship starts there. I really feel like land should be owned in circles, or stewarded, not owned, stewarded by women and mothers for a big part. There can be also men, part in it, but I really feel there should be a big shift. Right now it's the opposite. Right now it's most land belongs to or men, or then companies, or then royal organizations. And I really feel there it should be brought back into the hands of women, of mothers, to steward. Because they naturally will always care in the best way for land. And in many ways, like, this has a very deep importance, and I'm really going to share more about that tomorrow. Because with all the unfoldings, all the technology, all whatever we have experienced, life on Earth is dependent on the health of our topsoils, which is a very small percentage, and the water that flows through, that falls and flows through. So these two realities are so important that we understand, and it really is, the nurturing layer of our Mother Earth. And if we understand that in our own being, we can really serve Mother Earth also in this way so much deeper, in starting to really care about how the water that I'm drinking, where does that water come from right now? And in the place that I am living or just visiting, how does the water fall, and can it sink into the earth? Can it really, is it alive? And about the aliveness of the topsoils, am I cultivating, even if it's in a small form, that there is a a cycle of nourishment, like in, or just leave nature by itself, like give spaces where nature can just do its thing, leave spaces where animals can just do their thing. Or then if I choose as a human being to be part of us, to relate deeply with a certain part of earth, that I cultivate in a way that it's regenerative, and that I actually, with consuming things that actually are organic, and then I can give it back, I can make it compost, and I can support the diversity of microbes. And in a way, I want to make there a cycle to how this is so connected, like really the interest of healthy soil and of also cultivating food is connected to initiation. This is not separate. This is really deeply interconnected, because it really comes to the sacredness of matter and the interconnected cycles that makes an alive physical reality. And as mothers, we are so deeply, like really so deep in the embodiment of that. Just feeling into if there's something else that I want to come through. And this would be another moment to ask, to open for people to ask questions, but I just gonna feel if there's something else that wants to come through me in this moment. Yeah, I just wanna go a little bit for the conclusion of this transmission, into really reimagining the temples where the feminine mysteries of matter can be lived, can be celebrated, can be cultivated. How would places of birth need to look like? How would places of grief look like? How could gardens look like all over the planet? Like, what if we have cities that are full of community gardens, where this is just a big part of our lives, that we grow our own food on a small scale and all have nutrition dense plants and soils and water flow in a right relationship. What if death, dying, has a place in this deep connection also of the sacredness of the body? How would that look like if we, in a way, also take death as a birthing process, and understand that mothers have there so much wisdom of what it means to truly birth? How would mothers create rituals, rhythms on the personal, and how do you feel like that is something that you want to deepen, that you want to change, that you want to start to put a seed, and my experience also often, it's just if we start with one seed and start to have in small groups of coherence with oneself, but then also in relationships and friendships and in work, that's where really deep processes can start. In many ways, I say to my clients, little by little, and sometimes quantum leaps. I feel if we have that tending, and again, this is something that we mothers do, is this everyday tending to, in every moment, no matter if the child poops or cries or loves or wants to explore something, or it's like really this constant presence on this everyday consistency that then actually makes the quantum leaps that every human is designed also to do, that makes happens. And I can really see that in my daughter, like that. For often I wonder how much impact certain things that I do with her have, because for a long time there's actually not so much response. But then suddenly, when she has the neurological connections, poof, it's just there. And so it's like really this, again, this is something that we know as mothers, this tending on the small, real, every day. And then, and nature does that also, right? It's like this, all these many processes that are happening parallel, decentralized, and then suddenly there is like an amazing flower or a beautiful animal, or living there and passing. Yeah, you can see, like, I deeply love this topic of the sacredness of matter, and I feel that we really have lost that in the last centuries due to many reasons, but patriarchy, capitalism, and colonization. And I really feel that, a lot of repair in these big movements that have created so much violence, so much suffering for so many life forms happens really when we bring back the sacredness and the care of mothers. Yeah, I feel this is it for today. I wish you a deeply intuitive, instinctive, inspirational day, wherever you are. And I'm curious, if you want to write some questions or some feedback, some experiences, how this has touched you, has moved you, has inspired you to shift, plant the seed in your life. This will be very gratefully received. And also, again, if you feel like that you want to be part of the fields that I am cultivating, which are Māa'ru, which is the matriarch collective, reach out to me, reach out to us, find us, and become a part of it. It's a very beautiful, like really one of the most beautiful experiences that I've experienced in my life, because we really go into this long journey together with such authenticity, such intimacy, such vulnerability, such power on a long base, and as a living field. And it's really beautiful to be together with other women and other men in this form. So this is one field. The second field is the Odosho, ancient futuristic village that I and my husband are in a deep birthing process here in Brazil on the lands. And I'm also going to share more in the coming years, because we really want to build the post-capitalist infrastructure for the civilizations to come. And then I am part also of Singularity Party, which is a radical different political movement that has a radical approach to politics, which is also so special and so inspiring. And also there you can be part if you feel resonance to it. So I trust the wisdom of life. I trust the wisdom of the body, and you will feel where you are belonging. Okay. Sending all of you so much deep love. Enjoy the wonder of this life. Ciao.